Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the You Got the Ron Dude podcast. I'm your host Ron Jammin. Thank you very much for tuning in. This episode, going to be talking about one of my favorite comics, Nate Bargatze. Now, I'm not trashing him. Um, like I said, I'm a huge fan, huge supporter. Love his stand-up. On SNL, he's brilliant. He doesn't break. And some of the sketches have gone viral. So keep that in mind. I just want to talk about these other moves, these other branches in his career, and I'm not sure if it's the right move, just from a fan's perspective. And, Nate Land, I still remember, now almost 6 years ago, when him and the guy started the podcast, him, Aaron, and Brian, because I remember back in my home state, I remember where I was, when I tuned in the first episode, because I lived in a nice area, and that really has nothing to do with it. I'm just kind of painting a picture. But I remember tuning in. I was like, this is awesome. And this is 2020, so of course some comics are like, well, I can't work, I can't tour, and that, so it made sense to do a podcast. But when you first watch it, it's like, I don't know these other two guys, but of course their careers have blown up over the years, and they're really funny, really entertaining in that, and the whole breakfast thing, and but point being, so this is odd because I was going to record this yesterday, and right before I was going to, because I'd written all my notes out, because I'd been thinking about this for a while, and the Nateland podcast had its final episode a few weeks ago. A couple hours before I was going to record, they drop a reunion episode. You figure something like that would be even a year out. But they did a reunion episode a couple weeks after, or a few weeks after. I was like, that's interesting. Now, I love the podcast. I like how every episode they have a different topic, and that way they're not, repeating stuff, not too much anyways. Have guests on, and Nate hasn't been on some episodes, which I understand because he's one of the biggest comics right now. And I get it, but it is Nateland. And it's like you can't film it in advance because the episodes I've watched most of them, they don't really cover topical stuff. It's like all right, this episode going to be about theme parks, which we're going to come back to because that's one of the moves he's making. And then the next episode at the beginning, they'd reply to comments about it. If people are asking stuff or just insightful, funny remarks people would make about the episode. Kind of like the whole breakfast thing started. But I would keep doing the podcast. I would build that up. Because it's on Nate's YouTube channel. Nateland, I wasn't crazy about the name, but I was like, no, that could be a good brand name. And just keep doing it. Because now Dusty Slay, Aaron Weber, Brian Bates, they have the Public Figures podcast, which is still on that channel. And I've seen a couple other podcasts there. So I think Nate has like a podcasting network. And I get it. I wonder how Luis J. Gomez feels about that, with the Gas Digital. I wonder, not that he'd be upset, but he'd be like, hey man, just bring everybody over here. We'll take care of all the distribution and that. But I would keep doing the podcast. Maybe Nate feels, and again, I don't know this. I haven't heard him said it, but maybe he feels like, oh, people are going to get sick of me. I have all these specials. I'm one of the biggest touring comics and weekly podcasts. And it's like, no, the podcast is great because he didn't do much else besides, stand up and every couple years on Saturday Night Live. And because I've never felt like, oh, this guy again. Let me put out a special every couple years, but I would keep doing the podcast. I think it's great, and yeah, bringing on guests, talking to them, especially people that he knows, and even more interesting people he's just a fan of and wants to have them on and kind of interview them. But to stop it, it's like, that's interesting, because like I said, there are sometimes more frequently where he's not on the podcast. And it's nothing against the other guys, but it's like, you don't want to be on this episode, or they wanted to film one, you weren't available, and then to just put a lid on it. I'm like, no, you guys, the views aren't like outstanding, stellar, or anything. They're really good. I mean, who am I to say? Look at my video views. But, this is year 6 of the podcast for them, or it was. And to throw in the towel, I'm like, are you sure? Unless he has something else planned down the line. Maybe Nate just doesn't like doing it anymore. I don't know. But I find that fascinating because they've done a lot of episodes, covered a lot of stuff, but it's like there's always stuff to talk about. But he is doing other stuff, so we'll get into that next. But let me know what you think in the comments. And this podcast available, video version, not of me, but on YouTube. And then you can stream for free on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I don't know if Nate ever hears this, or somebody around him on his team or something. Be like, man, just stand up and podcasting. I think it's perfect. And I'll talk about why. Okay, next let's talk about Nate's movie, The Breadwinner. Okay, title. Mandy Moore, I like her. I like her, singing, her voice. Movies, I haven't seen all of them, but they don't really seem to have chemistry in the trailer. They don't have a lot of scenes together because it's just the trailer, but this is another uncertain pivot in his career. Because this story, and you see the comments, in the trailer on YouTube, and people were like, hasn't this been done multiple times? Being a dad is hard. I don't know if I can do it. My wife, she's got this business thing. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm at home with the kids. Being a dad is hard. So I don't know what to do. And it's kind of like, with Nate, he's so clever with his material and so funny. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked up who wrote this, but it seems like he could write his own thing. Because to kind of compare him, not the same thing or anything, but, Sebastian with about my father. Dad, what are you doing? And Bert Kreischer with the Machine movie. Now it's like, those projects, I get they're passionate about them. This one with Nate, the Breadwinner, it's kind of like, well, Sebastian and Bert, it's kind of like, well, there's no mystery. You didn't leave anything out of your act about them. Like, you want to know more about my dad? This one time, he said this. You gotta see the movie to find out why. That would be interesting. With the Machine, now, again, I'm not knocking anybody. These guys are some of the biggest names in comedy right now, in stand-up. But a movie, it's kind of like, are you sure? Because Nate, you remember in Living Color, Jim Carrey, the background guy, doing silly stuff in that. Like Nate, you just have him standing in the background of movies as a cameo, just staring. Kind of like when Patton did it on King of Queens. He said, I think he stood there for like 10 minutes and just to see if anybody noticed. He stood still. Now, again, just like the game show, this could be a hit. I don't know. But I saw it and it's like, huh. Because there's not really a demand from these guys for movies. It's kind of like you talk about this stuff on stage, but maybe even a sitcom first, like Bert Kreischer, Free Bert on Netflix. I'll probably check that out the next time I get Netflix. But at the same time, it's like, or you just watch a stand-up and, my daughters, you won't believe what they say. And he squeals, my gosh. But point being, it's like when this one thing is working, you want to branch off. And I'd throw these guys into movies like Sebastian, to mention him again, when he did The Irishman. And, when he does like cameos and that, it works. It's like, oh, it's Sebastian, But your own movie, kind of like, yeah, in this one, there's nothing really original about it. The trailer, now this is nothing on Nate or his team, but on the Sony YouTube channel, the trailer for The Breadwinner has, last I checked, 38 million views. I think they were buying views. I'm not sure why. Because you got one of the biggest comics right now touring. But when you look at the ratio of, how many likes and how many comments, and nobody's talking about this movie. Oh, and I found out, I'm glad I did some last minute checking. They moved it from March to the end of May. The release for the movie. And I don't know if that'll help it or not. Because this movie, the nice thing about it, it seems like a family-friendly comedy. So you could put it out like at any time of the year, which is nice. Why they moved it, they probably want to get some hype. Nate's game show is coming out, I believe in a few days actually, from recording this. Today's the 21st of February. And they moved his movie. But I don't know. I like when people are passionate about projects. So I'm careful not to knock stuff when you're like, why are they doing this? For him, I don't know. I think he could get into a better role. Because this thing, it's kind of predictable. His wife will come home and how'd it go? And he's like, I learned a lot. Being a dad is hard. And it's like, no, draw from your act. It could be hilarious. It could be a lot of his material in there. I don't know. I'll see it not in theaters unless the hype is crazy. So again, I'm not knocking anything. Go watch it. We got to see for ourselves. But it's just this premise that's been done before. And as a stand-up, that's not something you want. Because, believe me, you put me on stage, first of all, I couldn't even go up because my throat closes up. I can be funny around friends and stuff, but on stage, it's even getting to a minute, a solid minute of comedy, I already know it's difficult, from watching Kill Tony and that, but we'll see. This movie, it could be a hit. Maybe the trailer isn't showing us everything. Actually, the beginning of it, I love. Because I was like, this is another SNL sketch where the whole Shark Tank thing, where he comes out and aren't you out? Are you still allowed to talk when you're out? I love that. I'm like, you don't need a movie for that. And, him riding a horse around and the hijinks. And I like that it looks like, a family-friendly comedy, but I just don't think this is the move he needs to make. 'Cause it's not like you watch his act and you're like, dude, where's the movie? Unless he writes it himself. But again, he's a hit on SNL. One of the guys that's like, why isn't he on the show permanently? He's so funny. Sketches. You don't need a movie. And yeah, this movie has just been done before. But then again, it could be really good. It could be, if it's really funny in that, and maybe in the end, it doesn't end the way you think it will. She gets home and what happened here? I don't know. I tried. I told the kids, go to bed on time and pick up your toys, and they just wouldn't listen. And being a dad is hard. And it's really? But I don't know. He'll be fine if this movie bombs. But I think the fact that Sony's buying views for it is kind of dangerous. I watched one person react to it, and they pointed something out. Because in the beginning, now this is on Sony's channel. If you're on Nate's channel and he has a trailer for this, I understand. But otherwise, he goes, the trailer for my new movie starts right now. And the guy goes, who are you? Because it's not an ego thing. I don't think Nate planned that. But hi, I'm Nate Bargatze. This is a trailer for my new movie. You've probably seen it before, but enjoy the trailer. Something like that, an introduction, But again, that's nothing on Nate. He doesn't have an ego. He seems like a really cool guy, hilarious and that. But let me know what you think in the comments. Now, when I first heard about him hosting a game show, I thought, oh, that's hilarious. I thought it was a joke. And again, I'm a huge fan of Nate, so none of this is meant to slam or trash or anything. Watch everything he does, subscribe to all this stuff. Some stuff I'm just not too sure about. So let's start with the game show. Anything But Average, I believe is the title. And I had to look that up because I saw a promo, but they didn't even mention the name. They just said that, Nate's in Tennessee, I believe it is, and he's going to be filming the game show. Now, to me, that sounds like an SNL sketch. Or maybe he pitched it to somebody as a sketch, but they were like, well, this is the biggest comic, one of the biggest comics in the world right now. So it's like, yeah, I'm thinking about hosting a game show. I'm not really sure. That would work. I think it'd be funny. And they're like, Nate, whatever you want. We'll take care of it. Because it sounds like it'd be an SNL sketch, because he's one of the funniest guys out there, really clever, love his delivery. But as a game show host, it's almost like that's the joke. So on SNL, I could see that as a sketch. They have him host and they're like, those big dumb eyes. That's not a knock, that's a book of his. So, but if you see what I mean, it's kind of like a game show. Like, you don't have the energy for that. So that's why I'd work it as a sketch. I like the title, I like the concept. And you know what? This could work out, but I was like, really? You're blowing up, you're stand-up, you're a huge name, and to pivot, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Sebastian, I could see, because he has a lot of energy in that. And kind of like Steve Harvey, I figure he'd be good at, like, that's your answer? You want to change that, huh? What are you doing? With Nate, I don't know, it could work. Because again, he's one of my favorite comics. I've been a fan for, I don't know how long, well over a decade. But then again, with the comebacks and that, he could be really good at it. But I saw these photos of him. There were for some promos and that, and he can't even do a full smile. So I was like, is he trolling us? Maybe when he pitched this, it was supposed to be like, this is the sketch, but they were like, no, whatever you want. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm not knocking it. I'm gonna watch it because I want to see. Because he's a great performer in that, but some things it's kind of like, you want to pivot this way? Keep doing the podcast. I'm going to rewatch the theme parks episode because I'm going to talk about that next. Because yes, that's another thing, Nateland. From podcast to theme park. All right. Lastly, Nateland, from podcast to theme park. Now, I think it was on his podcast and he talked about, or maybe it was an interview, but he said, I've always loved theme parks and he wants something for his kids to enjoy. And you know what? I can understand that. That's really sweet. It's hard to come up with like, well, why are you doing this? It is an odd move when, influencers, comedians, entertainers in general, when they branch off and it's like, you want your name on something. Why not just invest in something with people? Like, leave it to the pros. You're like, oh, we're building this nearby. Now I understand he wants something closer to home, I believe. Because like I said, he wants, his kids to enjoy it and a place they can go and have fun. And I get that, but it's really like, do you need your name on it? Does it have to be your place, your money? Like, why not just invest in something with people? Because the business, the logistics of that alone, I can't imagine. And again, this is something, I'm not talking down about it. I just think for Nate, it's kind of a pivot, and it's like, I don't know. You want to create this entertainment empire, which I understand because a lot of people, he's already got other podcasts on his network and the movie, game show. But it's just unnecessary moves. And I get that if you don't have a lot of entertainment around you, if you want something specific, you're like, oh, I'll just build it. And it's like, okay, or you could pitch it to other people and figure out, the land and cost and do you know what to look for in professionals and who to hire in that. And, I've talked about Mr. Beast on my podcast and that because he's another one who you start out doing something, it's a hit, and then you start branching off. It's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? No, we want more of this from you. And it's difficult because I'm a huge fan of this guy, of Nate. But I just think, nothing against branching off, pivoting, but it's kind of like, I don't know. Keep the podcast going, Nate Land. And of course, stand up and going on SNL every few years, when you have a special coming out. But the theme park, of course, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. What's the theme? Laughter? I actually wrote that down. Got your own Nate work, huh? Yeah, I wrote that down too. But it's just him being the face of all this stuff. And it's just like, he's just not really wired like that. I don't think. Because is he going to be doing that half smile in every photo? And again, it's like, is he just messing with us? Or, but I can't really argue a theme park. It sounds fun, and maybe there'll be like a Kill Tony type of thing where people can do stand-up. They can try it. Because it seems like he wants to do everything. Again, back to Mr. Beast. It's kind of like, oh, this is cool. Oh, we don't have this in my area. I'll just make it myself. And it's like, okay. But then people are like, wait, game show host, movie star, stand-up, podcaster, former podcaster, but you have other shows on your network. And it's just like, just keep doing stand-up. But I don't know, Nate, it'd be cool to meet him, pick his brain. I wouldn't try and talk him out of any of this stuff. Like, if he hears this, I would say this to him if he asked about it, but otherwise, you wonder. He's just, maybe he's more excited about stuff, wants to try new stuff in that and take chances, but I don't know. When you watch a stand-up, you don't think like, why doesn't this guy open a theme park or host a game show? But again, let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I think that's all I got for this episode. But yeah, kudos to him and his success. Like I said, I've been a fan for well over a decade. And he's just a really, really funny guy. And he can poke fun at himself. And congrats to him and his success in that. But I hope all this works out for him. Because again, I'm not like slamming anything. Being like, what is this? It's just like, are you sure you want to do this? But we'll see. And the theme park, I'm not sure where that's going to be opening. But I haven't seen him, in interviews I watch, he's never like bright and cheery. His demeanor is very, not dark, but he just rolls with stuff. Like, he never comes off as arrogant or anything, egotistical. But I like to hear him talk more about, the game show, theme park, movie and stuff, because you just want to feel that passion. And not saying that he's not passionate about these things, but he's just very low energy. But we'll see what happens. I hope it all works out. So if you're watching on YouTube, like this video up, share it with others. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I kind of gave up on SoundCloud because they charge $15 a month. And I don't know of anyone who's even using SoundCloud. The views were okay, but then I'd get a lot of bot comments. Or mostly bot comments. And So that's, I'm not sure. I kind of go back and forth on it. But anyways, I'll have my social media links in the comments. And yeah, let me know what you think about all this stuff. Are you excited, or is it kind of like these are, is he taking chances, or is he just, maybe he's bored with what he's been doing? I don't know. Because once you sell out arenas, stadiums, it's like, well, where do you go from there? But I don't know. But a big supporter of his, and I hope all this stuff works out. And yeah, Nate Bargatze, hilarious guy. Check out all this stand-up specials, and so we'll see what happens with all this. So that'll do it. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on the You Got the Wrong Dude podcast.